Thank you, Mark, and a big hello from London. A really mixed bag of technical signals this past week, as we not only had the usual weekly key reversals to deal with, but also the monthly key reversals for March. So in the weekly key reversals, we had weekly key reversals up in the Philex Semiconductor Index and the US dollar against the Russian ruble. We also had a weekly key reversal down in EEX butter futures. And that is just about as much time as I'd like to spend on the weekly charts, as the monthly key reversals for March were so much more interesting. However, we'll talk about the Philex Semiconductor Index again later on. So, in the currencies, we had some really interesting monthly key reversals in cable, aka sterling against the US dollar, if only just, coming as it did after a break higher from a descending wedge pattern, and making new highs and high closes that had not been seen since June 2022. I speak more about this in my daily YouTube video commentaries this week. We also had monthly key reversals up in US dollar Turkish lira and the US dollar Egyptian pound 1 year NDF. We also had a monthly key reversals down in Euro Swiss, US dollar Swedish krona, US dollar Hungarian forint, and US dollar Chilean peso, though only just in this last one. In the cryptocurrencies, we had unanimous monthly key reversals up in Ethereum and also Bitcoin. Quite a feat to make it all together like that. Ethereum looked like it was not going to follow through this past Monday, but yesterday and today the market has turned around back up, such that today is the highest high since August of last year. As for Bitcoin, a similar sort of story. Looking bearish this past Monday, but higher yesterday and today, though the profile of the market is different compared to Ethereum, as it still has to deal with the highs of last week and the week before, as well as whether it is comfortable breaking up and out of the February to date expanding wedge pattern. From currencies, we move to the stock markets, and we had a monthly key reversals up in the Nasdaq 100 stock index and the German DAX 30 stock index futures and the French CAC 40 stock index futures. So far, there's not been a follow-on higher this week in the Nasdaq 100, a limited follow-on higher in the DAX 30 futures, and a limited but positive follow-on higher in the CAC 40 futures. We also had a monthly key reversal up in the Philex Semiconductor Index, which complements the weekly key reversal up we saw here last week and the weekly key reversal up we saw in the middle of March. There's not been any follow-through on higher to either, but it is early on these as yet. Next is the fixed income markets, and we had monthly key reversals up in US T-note futures, US T-bond futures, and German Bund futures, though only just on the latter. We have had a limited follow-on higher in US T-note and T-bond futures, and even on the German Bund futures. However, it has been nothing to write home about, not just yet, but just keeping a wary eye on these. Finally, in the commodities, we had only 3, and they were all monthly key reversals down. We had a monthly key reversal down in Chicago soybean meal futures, which has indeed started to see the beginnings of a follow-through lower this week. I cover this in more depth in my weekly oilseeds and vegetable oils video commentary last Thursday, and a new commentary out tomorrow. We had a monthly key reversal down in NYMEX Henry Hub gas futures. To be honest, here, yes, prices are sort of lower than last Friday, but the action has not been very awe-inspiring. The final commodity was a controversial one. We had a monthly key reversal down in NYMEX WTI Crude oil futures. Now, please, there was no such action. Please note there was no such action in the ICE Brent crude oil futures, nor in heating oil and RBOB products on NYMEX. It was solely on the WTI crude oil future. And here comes the rub. Yes, we have had a strong reactionary gapping move higher over the turn of the month into this week. We're also showing some signs of indecision now as well. Prices after Monday's shock move higher have simpered. They have moved a little higher yesterday, but only just. And yesterday ended up as an indecisive spinning top. At the same time, the market has not really tried to fill in the gap below. It all leaves a big question mark on whether the move up over the weekend is enough in either direction, as it sure doesn't look like the market knows whether to continue higher or revert back down. As a postscript to the TikTok generation out there, there was a monthly key reversal up in GameStop stock of the US, but this, like quite a few of the other monthly key reversals we've seen over March, has not shown significant incentive to move higher or revert back down, not yet at least. As always, I'm happy to answer any direct questions with anyone who's interested. With that, I'll finish this section from London, and I hope you found these comments useful.
Thank you for listening. This weekly broadcast gives the essential market patterns and consequences. Please be aware of the risk disclaimer posted both at the front and the back of this broadcast. Copyright is Eddie Toftbig and ADM Investor Services International Limited. And here comes the final important bit.